Hey, this is Dave here, and in this episode, I want to talk to you a little bit about trail running shoes. These ones in particular. I have been studying running shoes, trail runners as a physical therapist for several years now, and what I've come to realize is I'm looking for four characteristics in my shoe so that I can be the most functional and the most pain-free. Several years ago, I was out running and I pulled a hamstring muscle, and it took me a long time to recover from that. So at that time, I had studied up on running mechanics, and came to the realization that I was running wrong. Through a series of events and several hundred articles that I read and researched, as well as working with hundreds of patients in looking at running mechanics, I came to the realization that there's four characteristics that I look for in a shoe. These shoes are my choice for the Appalachian Trail. Actually, it will be probably a different pair because these are well worn. These are my Altra Lone Peak 6s, and the characteristics that I look for in a shoe are: one would be a zero drop shoe, meaning the back to front is going to have 0 degrees as far as the change. So the height here is equal to the height here. So that's a zero drop shoe. The other thing is I don't really want a big upturned toe box. This one is, I'll call it minimal, slight to minimal. So that's pretty good for my shoe. The third thing that I want is a wide toe box. I don't want it tapered in. I don't want it crunching my shoe. And the fourth is I don't really want anything that you would consider as, quote, arch support. I want something very low. I have very functional arches. My arches take care of themselves. We could discuss that over and over and over and over, but for the time being, that's what I look for in a shoe. These Altra Lone Peak 6s have served me well. I have had them for about a year. They look pretty disgusting, and honestly, if my eyes don't start weeping, that'll be a miracle because they smell pretty badly. So, just putting it out there. The thing that I like most about these are they're fairly lightweight for such a thick-soled shoe, and they are very grippy as far as the bottoms. These ones are getting worn out, but this material, for some reason, walking through New England up over the granite rocks and whatnot, has been very grippy, and I'm very happy with that. The other thing is they do have a wide toe box. My foot is allowed to splay, and that is helpful because I don't get a lot of numbness. I don't get any numbness in my toes, and that is very important to me as well. These shoes, while they get wet very easily, because of it's almost a nylon-y sort of feel to it, a little thicker than that, they also squeeze water out of them very quickly. So when I go through a stream, I'm wet for a little bit, and then I stop feeling it because the water gets dispelled fairly quickly out of the shoe, and I like that about them. I'm not looking for a waterproof shoe when I go out on the Appalachian Trail, nor should I, because my understanding, and from what others have said, is a waterproof shoe, when you get water on the inside, it can't get out. Whereas these ones are very soft and soft nylon material. I don't know the exact material, but they will push that water right out. And there's all these little holes on the sole, or the toe box of the shoe, and you can literally see water squirting out of those when I come out of a river. They do have a couple features that are good if you are into wearing gaiters, these small running gaiters. The laces have a little section right here you can attach a gaiter to. You can also attach it here, and if you pull this down, you can attach a gaiter there. I believe that's what that's for. I don't use it personally. The sole does turn up in the back, and I do like that, because then when you're walking, when you're heel striking, you're not striking on a hard surface. It's more of an easy, forgiving surface. So those are the shoes that I'm going to be wearing on the Appalachian Trail. I will most likely buy a pair within the next month, because as you can see, those are pretty well worn out. I'll keep them, I'll clean them up the best I can, and I'll keep them in case I need to get a pair as quickly as possible to get me out onto the trail. And I notice how dirty my desk got just from those shoes. But I will be buying my Appalachian Trail shoes fairly shortly. I do want to work them in and wear them in a little bit before I get out on the trail. I'll probably get a second pair 2 to 3 months in. I tend to use shoes a lot longer than other people, but these ones have worn pretty evenly, and I have worn them several hikes, maybe in the last year, 30 to 40 different hikes, some of them short, some of them long, typical short day hike or long day hike, overnight backpacking trip, and they have fared me well. I don't clean them, and they get clean the next time I walk through a river, so I think that could be why they smell so badly. But if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like these, I am putting a link in the description below. These are the Altra Lone Peak 6s. They are the 8.5 wide. I will most likely buy a 9 wide for the trail. If not the first pair, it would be the second pair, depending on how the 8.5 felt on my feet. There are Lone Peak 7s out now. I have not tried those, and I don't think that I will. I think I'm going with the Lone Peak 6 if I can continue to get those. The other 2 brands of shoes that I have looked at were the Zero shoes, which I feel for the Appalachian Trail is not thick enough unless they come up with a much thicker, more foamy bottom, but that kind of goes against their minimalist culture, which is fine. I have worn Zero shoes for several years, but just not recently on hiking. I want a little more cushion underneath my feet. The other one is a Topo, or Topo, T-O-P-O. The issue that I can see with those is it's a narrower toe box. It's more of a tapered toe box, and the toe box is upturned more so than what I see with my my Altras. So again, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Share this with anybody who you feel would benefit from a little lesson in what I'm looking for, or what to look for in a trail running shoe, at least from my standpoint. If you are used to wearing something, I would look at the characteristics before you just jumped into something else, because our bodies will adapt to whatever shoe we are wearing. The biggest caution that I have when it comes to a shoe for the Appalachian Trail would be something that's too short, where you're going to just jam the end of it and against your toes, lose toenails and whatnot. The other thing is you don't want it too tight, where it's going to press together, and that may create what's called a Morton's neuroma, which is on the bottom of your foot. That nerve gets compressed between two of the bones in your feet and makes your toes go numb and tingly, as well as possibly getting a lot of pain on the bottom of your foot. So if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. I've said that for 3 times now, so hopefully people will subscribe. And share this with others, like it, and leave a comment to let me know what you are wearing on your Appalachian Trail Thru-Hike, or what you wore on your Appalachian Trail Thru-Hike, or any thru-hike, and what you're generally wearing when you go backpacking. And as always, happy hiking.